Check, check. Mr. Mayor, we're at 6 o'clock and ready to proceed.
Of course we are, because it's 6 o'clock. Well, good evening, folks. We have a lot of special guests and visitors here tonight, and we want to open our city council meeting at 6 p.m. for the August 4th City of Riverside meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Denning.
Here.
Ms. Fry.
Here.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch. Mr. Maxfield.
Present.
Mayor Williams.
Here. No absent members. Mr. Manager, any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Joseph and a second for Mr. Maxfield to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Agenda is approved. If you're able, please join us to rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As I mentioned, we have a number of special guests here tonight, and I believe the large majority of that is to honor a very special resident here in the city of Riverside. And we are very proud tonight to present a proclamation from City Council for Miss Dolores Ramsey Dancy. Is that you, young lady? Well, then somebody forged this because it says you're 90, but I don't believe that can be the case. Well, the family of Dolores has asked us, and we're very happy to celebrate the occasion of her 90th birthday and 50 years in our community. So please allow me to read this proclamation as we honor Dolores. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for a community, which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experiences of an individual that bring it to all. Whereas Mrs. Dolores Ramsey Dancy, born in Miami, Florida, August 23rd, 1935, and in 1973 moved to Riverside, Ohio with her husband, Master Sergeant Archie Ramsey Jr., with whom she celebrated 25 years of marriage until his passing in 1993. And whereas Dolores is the mother of 4 children, 4 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren, and enjoys a special endearing relationship with her great-grandchildren along with her husband, Fred Dancy, to whom she's been married for the past 40 years. And whereas Dolores, as a Deaconess President, a member of the Golden Voices, an organizer of the Traveling Prayer Partners, and a president of the Shining Stars at Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church, and is currently a member of Harvest Grove Baptist Church. And whereas Dolores is a 42-year member of the American Business Women's Association, Polaris Chapter, and has been voted Woman of the Year 3 times, 1993, 2014, and 2015, and has served as president of the ABWA from 1993 to 1995, and again in 2012 until 2014. Whereas Dolores has a commitment to community, she's received the Mary Scott Nursing Community Award in 2010, organized a heart fundraiser where she canvassed the neighborhood, leaving envelopes to mail donations for several years. She also celebrates those who give back to their community, and she has nominated a neighbor, Daniel Todd, as a Dayton Daily News Community Gem for helping others in her neighborhood. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, be known as Dolores Ramsey Dancy Day in recognition and honor of her long life and service to the community and her family. Signed under my name on this 4th day of August, 2025. Congratulations, Dolores. Now, we're gonna ask you to, we're gonna have a number of photos taken with you and your family, but if you could, would you please come to the podium and could you just please tell us your secret to a long and wonderful life? We have to know.
I'd like to know that myself. I do feel that the Lord has truly smiled on me. On a daily basis, I thank Him. On a daily basis, I thank Him. 90 years is a long time. I've learned a lot. I've witnessed a lot. As a matter of fact, I witnessed a whole lot in the last 7 months. But I am so appreciative to be here this evening. I do thank all of you. And I wish that I could just come and sit down for a moment and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I know we don't have time. I do appreciate the work that you're doing for the city of Riverside. I notice it on a daily basis, so don't think that what you're doing is unnoticed, because it is. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the award. Thank you for the recognition. Thank you for allowing me to be here this moment. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dolores, now I need you to stand up again. I apologize. You're to receive your proclamation.
Yeah, we'll clear out.
We'll have a few photos, then I'll get out of here. We've got a number of photos to take. So if you could please, see Riverside back, would you? Oh, dear.
Yeah, go that way.
You go that way. You go a step that way.
Step over here. Yeah.
All right, do you want your family to come up for a few photos? All right. Would Dolores' family please come on up? You stay here. Yes, your family. Well, that's right. We want to have a nice photo with you guys. Well, absolutely. Whoever you'd like to come up for a photo, please come on up. Please do.
Benita.
All right. Congratulations.
And the next one is the swearing in of Officer. She has the oath.
Now I can make noise.
No, don't do that. I'm gonna have to move you to the other side. Are you gonna, Pete, are you gonna let them go?
Oh. And if the family of Dolores would like to, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're more than welcome to. We always love to have our citizens here at the meeting and participating as they'd like. But by all means, if you'd like to leave at this time, that's more than appropriate. And there's also another place out in the lobby where there's a very nice opportunity to take some photos of the Riverside mural behind you. So thank you again, though. We really appreciated the opportunity to honor you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the honor. But we're gonna leave because we know you guys got a lot of good business to take care of.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dolores.
God bless you, Miss Dolores. Thank you.
And we also have the opportunity to add a new officer to our ranks tonight. We're going to be swearing in Officer Christian Wagner, and I would ask if Acting Chief Jackson would like to come up to the podium and say a few words before we start the oath.
I'm not Christine.
Hi, this is Christian. We appreciate the opportunity to do this tonight. Christian comes as our first cadet, came through Sinclair. It was part of our efforts for our recruitment. I learned tonight they call him a cadoodle, if that's the right thing. I didn't know that nickname, but here, so he graduated in June from Sinclair, and we welcomed him aboard. A little bit about Christian. He grew up in Fleetwood, Pennsylvania, with his parents, Michael and Brandy Wagner. He is the oldest of 4 children. He has a sister, Rachel, and 2 brothers, Daniel and Jonah. Christian joined the United States Army right after high school. He served 6 years, from August of 2018 to January of 2024. He was part of the 1st Battalion, 12th Infantry Regiment, stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, with the 4th Infantry Division. He was deployed to Korea, where he was based at Fort Humphreys and Camp Casey. Is that correct? During his time in service, he achieved the rank of sergeant and received 7 Army Achievement Awards, 1 Army Good Conduct Medal, the Korea Defense Service Medal, Korea Army Certification Appreciation, and an Expert Infantryman's Badge. Officer Wagner is married to Mackenzie Wagner, who's here with us tonight. Who serves in the United States Air Force. He enjoys spending time with her by hiking and going to the gym. He also likes playing golf and video games. Unfortunately, he is an Eagles fan too, but we'll keep him, okay? Officer Wagner's ready to serve and has been a great FTO so far.
Wonderful. So I'll come on over. Okay. All right. Please raise your right hand. I, Christian A. Wagner,
I, Christian A. Wagner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the State of Ohio,
and of the State of Ohio,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions of the Charter
the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of
and ordinances of
the City of Riverside, Ohio,
the City of Riverside, Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer,
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Please just sign that for me. All right. And then we would ask if you'd like to come up and take a few photos with your wife. Oh, wonderful. Go ahead, right up there, we're gonna have a nice background for you.
You have family? Rest of your family?
Do the other officers want to take a quick photo?
Yeah.
All right, congratulations, Officer Wagner.
Officer Wagner? Officer Wagner? Yeah. You guys better get in your spots. Thanks for your service. Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations. Yes, sir. Welcome aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, that kind of cleared out the room.
Well, the fun continues with a presentation, I believe. Mr. Manager, is the presentation next on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have is that being presented by staff or do we have a
We
guest?
have a guest from the RTA with us.
All right, I'll have you introduce our guest.
If you'll bear with me just a second, we'll give the room a minute to clear.
Yes.
He's
He's getting your.
you got the
Yeah.
presentation.
We're going to
Yeah,
introduce
I've
you.
gotta- I've got to load
got time.
the presentation here. We were giving them a minute to clear out here too, but there they go. So, Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Christy Newton, who's the Communications and Community Relations Manager for the Greater Dayton RTA. And she has a presentation about some route modifications that RTA is pursuing. And if you can just go ahead and point at me whenever you want to advance to the next slide. Our range is limited, unfortunately, out there, so.
You got it.
It's all yours.
All right. This is a great day to come because I have some more positive news, and it seems like there's a lot of positivity going around today. So, as you mentioned, my name is Christy Newton. I'm the Communications and Community Relations Manager at the Greater Dayton RTA. I'm here to talk about 2 new routes that we're going to launch on August 31st. Before I do that, a little bit about who we are. The Greater Dayton RTA is the public transit agency that serves all of Montgomery County. We have about 550 employees, and we give about 6 million trips per year. A fun fact about us is that we have 65% of RTA customers are traveling to jobs, followed by medical appointments and educational opportunities. So our services include fixed route. You can see on the screen here, this is a picture of our system map. We have 20 bus routes that serve Montgomery County. We also have Connect on Demand zones. I'll get into a little bit more about those in a minute. We also have our paratransit service and 5310 program. But first, I want to talk to you about the new routes we're launching, because that's why I'm here. So we are launching the express route, which is called the X6. It will be an express route from downtown Dayton to the National Museum of the United States Air Force.
Wow, good.
So the new route will travel through the downtown corridor, making stops at recently opened hotels before traveling along Main Street, hopping onto State Route 4 to the museum. From there, it will travel along Harshman Road before turning onto Airway Road and heading to Wright State University. It will also connect with RTA's routes 1 and 6 at the intersection of Woodman Drive and Airway Road. The route will be operational from 8:45 a.m. to 5:15 p.m. 7 days a week. This coincides with the museum's hours of operation, and you can catch a bus every 40 minutes. We are also launching the Route 3. This will connect customers to grocery stores, medical facilities, and entertainment options. And for my trolley enthusiasts, this is an all-trolley route. So it will travel from the Easttown Transit Center in East Dayton through the downtown Dayton corridor and head northeast to Dayton Children's Hospital. Major destinations along the Route 3 include Ballpark Village, Dayton Children's, the Oregon District, Kroger on Wayne Avenue, Belmont High School, and Easttown Shopping Center. This route will run from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., 7 days a week, and you can catch a bus every 35 minutes. Also part of our service adjustment, we are changing the routes 1 and 6, the east ends. Basically, we're taking the east ends of the routes and we're switching them. So currently, the Route 1 goes up to Wright State University. As of August 31st, it will be the Route 6 that goes up to Wright State University. And currently, the Route 6 goes down to the Easttown Transit Hub. It will be the Route 1. So no service will be lost. We're just flipping which routes serve those areas. This allows for better connections and for more frequency along those routes. So other services that we offered as promised, we have Connect on Demand, which is 4 zones that were shown on the service map earlier. Basically, we partner with Uber or Lyft. You can catch a ride anywhere within those zones. The museum is actually in Zone 4. It's $3 per trip, and you can book either calling our call center or you can book on the app. We also have our paratransit services. This is our ADA accessible service, or the white vans that you see around town. This is $4 per trip. You can book through our customer service or on the website. This is for those who are certified to ride our paratransit services. In order to get certified, you would call our customer service and they'd walk you through the certification process. We also have our 5310 program. This is for essential trips to individuals 65 and older or persons with disability. You don't have to be certified to take advantage of this. It's $5 per trip. It's for essential trips. So think grocery store, pharmacy, medical appointments, and you can book through our call center. And our call center phone number is listed on this slide. You might have also noticed that we have put up new bus stop signs. This is a look at our new bus stop signs. It still has the text feature. It also lists our website as well as a phone number. You'll see these go up along our Route 3 and our new Route X6 when the stops are implemented. Thank you so much for your time. Our Route 3 information is already up on our website. We will be announcing the launch of the Route 6 officially on Friday, so that information will be posted to our website, iriderta.org, on Friday.
All right, thank you for that information. Do we have any questions from our Regional Transit Authority?
I think the thing with Uber is huge. What's the easiest way for people to like get that set up on their Uber account? Where do they find that information? And like, what area do you need to be like picked up / dropped off in for that to work?
So our Connect on Demand service, we have 4 zones, and this really serves the areas where fixed route is unavailable or limited. You can travel anywhere within a zone. So as long as you're within the same zone, you can travel anywhere you'd like to go. I would suggest if somebody was interested in getting set up to call our customer service. They'll make sure you get the right codes based on if you want to use Uber or Lyft, and they'll walk you through the process. From there, our customers are able to book their trips themselves.
Yeah, like I have it set up on mine. I've had it set up for the longest time. I just never understood what it was. That I had a voucher, like a $3. You pay the first 3, then up to $30 of each trip is like free. Is there a map of those zones?
Yeah, so the map of the zones is located on our website. If you go to iriderta.org at the top, there is, you'll see, if you click in the drop downs, there's an on-demand section. You'll want to click the on-demand section to navigate there.
I agree that Uber is huge. I'm a bus driver during the school year, but I actually full-time Uber drive in the summertime, and I can say probably half of the rides that I take are RTA transfers in the morning. So, yes.
Very cool.
What could we do as a council to help promote these new opportunities that the RTA is offering to the people in Montgomery County?
So we're going to be posting to our social media. If you guys have social media channels that you would like to share it on, we're also happy to provide materials if you guys would like. We're creating a rack card. It's like the size of a brochure that we're hoping to put in downtown destinations, downtown hotels. We could provide you with some of those too if you would like to leave them around prominent locations in your area. But I'm also over like marketing, so I'm willing to, collaborate on ways that we can promote it because we really want this to be successful.
Absolutely. I see the trolley line is still going down. The street I grew up on had 2 trolley stops on Hearthstone when I was growing up, and the RTA ran 24 hours back in the 80s. So the trolley sound is one that some people are very, very familiar with. So I'm glad to see it's still running because I know that it does save emissions, and it's a widely used asset as well. So if we have no further questions for our guests, we certainly thank you for our time. We would look forward to opportunities to promote what you're offering for our community and ways that we can collaborate. I'm sure the city manager and our communications manager would be happy to have those conversations.
Yes, absolutely. And just a big thank you to RTA just in general for your partnership on all the other projects that we're doing, especially with the Woodman Corridor out here. It's been a great partnership.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's any folks joining us this evening in council chambers who wish to speak on any agenda or non-agenda item, we have forms in the back of the room you can fill out and turn into our clerk to speak later in the meeting. At this time, we will do approval of our minutes from July 7th. I think we've all had a chance to review those minutes from our last meeting, which was about a month ago. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as published?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Maxfield and a second from Mr. Denning. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
One
Yeah,
abstain.
I wasn't here.
Ms. Lomatch will abstain from the vote. And we will move on to public comment for agenda items. I don't believe we've had any slips turned in for that.
Not for agenda items.
Okay. Well, then we will move into new business, of which we have first reading of an ordinance and 2 resolutions. The first ordinance, Mr. Manager, is for the improvement of certain streets in the city with our lighting district, I believe.
Correct. It's all related to lighting. So this is our annual housekeeping ordinance that lets the city collect assessments for the various lighting districts that are in the city. The total amount that we expect to recover through this assessment is about $115,000. And again, that pays for the electricity costs for these streetlights.
So moved.
Second.
All right. The city charter allows for an ordinance to be read by, the City of Riverside Charter allows for an ordinance to be read by title only unless the council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 250868, an ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the city of Riverside, Ohio, by lighting the same with electricity.
Any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. Motion carries. That was the first reading of an ordinance. And we'll move on to our resolutions, of which we have 2. The first one, Mr. Manager, this is our CDBG grants that we received through the Land Bank, I believe.
You believe so? This is huge kudos to Naya and her team. It's about $125,000 that will let us do demolition and rehabilitation projects. We have identified properties in Avondale, Floral Park, and the Riverside Terrace neighborhoods that we'll use these grant proceeds for. So this resolution allows us to accept that grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion by members of council? Hearing none, all those in favor of Resolution 25-R-3039 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And our second resolution, Mr. Manager, this is for our Safe Streets for All grant.
Correct. As discussed at the last meeting, which I know was several weeks ago when Wolpert presented kind of a high-level overview of the draft action plan, this resolution would formally adopt that plan, which allows us to fulfill the requirements of the grant through the Federal Highway Administration, but also lets us then get in line for additional rounds of funding in future grant cycles.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from the Deputy Mayor. All those in favor of Resolution 25-R-3040 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We will move on to public comment for non-agenda items, of which we've had 1 slip turned in. We have Mr. John Ziegler from Blue Rock here to speak on 2 non-agenda items. So, Mr. Ziegler, we welcome you to the podium. And if you could just please read your name and address, or sorry, state your name and address for the record. And please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and we thank you again for being here.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is John Ziegler. My address is 4238 Bully Rock Road, South Riverside. I had some questions about what was the construction going on Woodman. They've already started. I'm not sure if they're building bike paths or sidewalks or both, or I was just kind of curious because it looks like a pretty big project. And I was part of the volunteers that came in here to give their opinions on all that project. So I was curious, is there going to be a bike path this time, a sidewalk, or?
And I assume you're speaking of the Woodman Road rebuild that is between Eastman and 35?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A portion of it does include a bike path that will connect up through Woodman Park Apartments, and then there is a sidewalk on another portion on the other side. And we can get you a rendering or those plans that have that in more detail.
I took a site and planning course before at Ohio Business College, so I'm familiar with blueprints and everything, so. All right, thank you. I also wanted to talk about what I hear about some of the meetings. We talk about stakeholders and our projects and our surveys we do, and we talk about the citizens participating. Now, it seems like the stakeholders, we let outsiders come in, and I'm afraid if there's too many outsiders in these surveys and stuff, it's not going to be a real representation of what the residents really want. Thank you. That's all I had to say about that.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. We'll move on to our discussion items, of which we have a couple, and I'll ask the city manager to take us through some of those updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Larry Hartlob, who's with the Shared Resource Center. Larry has a background at the county auditor's office as well, and some other experience in direct service and local government, and has been on point since February, really, or March, assisting us with finance director duties. So he's got an update on the July finances and then an overview of our master financial plan. So Larry, what we'll do is I'll kind of flip through these slides, and then when we get to the master plan piece, we'll try to do the keyboard and see if it takes. So.
Okay. All right. Good evening. How are we doing today?
Good evening.
As Josh alluded, I'm Larry Hartlob. I'm the acting finance director for City of Riverside right now. So just coming tonight to introduce myself to everybody, say hi, give a little bit about where I'm from, what I've done, some experience, just so you have an idea of what you're getting.
Yep. I'm sorry. This is my fault. There we go.
So just as a quick introduction about myself. So I'm actually from a little town up north called the city of Port Clinton, right on Lake Erie. If you've ever been to Put-in Bay, you probably parked in Port Clinton to go get the ferry, go over the island. So that's where I'm from. I got my start in local government there. I was the city auditor for the city of Port Clinton, and then I was the county auditor for Ottawa County for 5 years after that. So 3 years as city auditor, 5 years at Ottawa County. And then I met Carl Keith through some statewide associations. He hired me about 7 years ago to come down and work for him as assistant auditor, and then for the last 5 years I was his director of tax and finance. So I did all the property taxes, calculate all the tax bills, helped him with all the assessment projects, set value for all the properties in the county. So I've had about 15 years now of public sector finance work through city, county, done some work in townships. I'm a licensed school treasurer. My educational background is I went to Wright State University. That's my connection down here. So I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in economics from Wright State. And then starting in March, right when we came in here, I actually started on March 1st with the SRC, the Shared Resource Center, which I believe I have a slide on that there. So the Shared Resource Center, we provide financial services to local governments throughout, primarily through Montgomery County, but we actually do it statewide. We do treasurer, finance director, so treasurer for schools, finance directors for local governments like cities and townships. We also have an accounts payable and a payroll team as well, so we can plug in people. We do have an accounts payable clerk here working to help out the finance department as well. We also do training and planning for local governments as well. We'll train, new finance directors, budget planners. We'll do all that kind of stuff as well as master planning, which we're going to get into a little bit of what we've done for Riverside as well. So that's kind of my background. That's the organization I work for. And I think going from there, we'll go into a little bit of update on where we're at on the budget for the year, because it is just about budget season. So we'll be working through all that with you all. And so Josh wanted us to kind of update where we're at and then talk a little bit more high level about where we might be going in the next few years. So we can kind of just get our heads in that space for budget season. So as of right now, through July 31st, on a high level, we've brought in about $21 million for revenue for the city of Riverside. And of that, about $6.8 million was the income tax, which is about $200,000 more than last year. So we're up just a little bit, so it's good. We're stable. We're getting what we're expecting here. And then property tax was about $2 million so far this year, which is right on target. Property tax is kind of designed that way, though, so it's designed to be really stable, really steady. If it was coming in 5% or 10% lower, then it would be a little bit more concerning, but I wouldn't foresee any of that. So we're seeing revenues coming in pretty solid, as we would expect, right on track with budgeting. So I think we're in a pretty good position on the revenue side. And on expenses, we're actually, for the most part, if you take Right Point out of the equation, we're a little bit behind. So expenses are coming in a little bit less than budgeted. So it's always a good sign. We had about $21.5 million in expenses through the year. About $6.4 million of that was in personnel services, so for wages and benefits. And that was a little bit under, for the most part, every department's a little bit under. Fire department's a little bit over. And you've probably noticed that in the memos we've sent out in the last few months. So we're real close on that. And then we have about $2.8 million in expenses in non-personnel ops and operations. So that would be everything that's not either capital or wages. So that's right on target. It's a little bit under, so that's good news. We're not spending too much. And then there's this $10.8 million in capital and debt, and that is almost all related to Right Point. So, we have to roll that note every year, so that's a revenue and an expense of a couple $1 million. And then we've got the actual capital outlay for the project for the renovations we've been doing on the buildings, which are just about done. We're probably, I forget, was it 95% of the way there on the last building, so we're really close to being done paying that. But that's also showing when we send out the thing that says we're, a few percentage points over expenses than we thought for the year. It's mainly because it's front-loaded from the Right Point project, right? So we've spent that money. It's a big project. We spent most of it already. So as we kind of get into September and we've paid out all those bills, it should kind of get back and bounce back out to where we thought it would be for the budget, if that makes sense.
Question.
Yes.
Why are we not including Right Point in the expenses?
Oh, we are.
Okay.
That's what that
So
is. The $10.8 million is,
Okay.
is pretty much that. That's what I was getting at. It's because we had to roll the note, so there's a $5 million there, $4.5 million for that, so that's an expense. And then we spend the money on the renovations, so it's about $5 million.
I'm confused. Like, I know we talked about rolling the note.
Yeah.
Why is that a debit, or why is that a expense in revenue? It's a liability. It's just.
Well, it's
asset.
because every year we sell the note, we get revenue, and then we have to pay the old note off. So, and then we use that revenue to pay the old note off. So there is a new revenue as well as a new expense. So we are creating a new liability as well.
Well, I know I feel like it inflates our standing there a little bit because
Oh,
it's something
yeah.
we're going to come to zero at the end of the year. It's a liability that's outstanding. That was a 1-year due term. So like the net position of Right Point is a negative with whatever expenses that we have that outpace our revenue that we're receiving in. I've not seen, in any of my experience, I've not seen like a note payable brought in and shown as a revenue and then reflected as an expense when we're paying it.
Right, so it's because there's a lag in a year on the operation here. So like we are selling a new note to pay the last year's note, right? So we're actually reissuing a new liability and paying off the old liability.
I keep
So
hitting my mic, I don't know why.
So it's one of those weird things where it's because of the nature of the 1-year note thing that it kind of gets convoluted. But we are actually paying off an old liability and then issuing a new one.
Yeah,
So-
this is something we can talk about.
Right, yeah, sure,
Um,
anytime.
It's just a little conflating to see this like massive amount of revenue and then we're having an equal expense where the true story is like we're taking in rent
Yeah, and
we're expensing whatever it costs to operate this building. Take the note out of the equation what is the financial report except to be like shown to the public in a way that they can understand? Showing the bond proceeds in and out makes it seem like there's a lot more financial transactions going on than what there really is.
But I don't know that we could not show it.
I would be showing it as a revenue and an expense. I'd be very curious to look at like text and see like if that should be shown as a revenue expense, not just a liability. So I've been doing my job wrong for a little bit of time.
We have to report it on our financial statements as a revenue and expense.
Because the
but-
note's realized on an annual basis, and it's also paid off on an annual
Right,
basis.
so it is a
And when
real
interest rates are
revenue.
low, it's not a bad way to use money.
Right. So I think that to answer your question though is, or to your point is, the real thing is the delta between those two, right? Like what is that's really the true expense. Like what is the difference between the revenue and the expense on that? And actually this year there was a little bit more of a delta because we pulled some extra money out to finish the renovation, so. But also, if you're interested and you ever want to sit down and talk about it, we have it in great detail, and we can walk you through it, what we have.
He's interested.
Okay. So, well, feel free to reach out. So,
Let me, I think your next slide is master plan.
yeah, so we're going to take this to a
Let's
little bit further.
Pull that up. I'm gonna,
We're going to go to the cash summary tab.
is that mostly legible?
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay, you want cash summary
Yeah, I think it's over there.
right here?
Yeah, here we go.
Here, let me, yeah, this one's not quite as.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little busy, but it's doing a lot. So this is the master planning work that we've done. So this goes in and breaks down all the city's revenue and expenses down to the line item level. And then we do some stuff where we bake in some assumptions and we do some modeling outwards so that we capture the next 10 years of what we think is going to happen in the city of Riverside budget-wise. So it's a pretty powerful tool, and we go back, show some history, and then we also go in, and then every year we come back in and we re-update this with the actual numbers and see how we did, and we can readjust our assumptions and make sure that if there's anything we need to course correct on, we can. Also, if we ever need to add anything new in, say a new fund or something, we can do that as well and model it right in there. What this summary page is doing is it's taking all that up, and it's giving us the plus and minus of the cash balances of each individual fund within the city of Riverside. And then that total line there on the very bottom in black on line 49 is giving us basically our estimated cash position for the city of Riverside as time goes forward. The other part on here we're going to be looking at, so this thing is kind of baked into push deficits to the general fund, whereas if, say, the fire fund was running a consistent deficit where we have it set so that the general fund would subsidize it through a transfer. So what we want to track is line 3 there, the general surplus deficit. So if you look at it right now, we're projected to actually come a little bit ahead this year. And, we might, at 200, 300,000, we'll probably be somewhere close to either, even or maybe a little ahead on the budget this year. Going forward, you see that deficit number starts to get a little bit bigger. So we think that this year and next year, and the cash balance is $6 million, $5 million, that's not anything too concerning, but it's as we get out further down the line, 28, 29, you start seeing that budget get bigger, and then 2030, you see it getting close, and then 2031, it's going into negative. So what it's saying is that right now, the city is doing okay. But when we go into budget season, we kind of want to think on the medium term there, we're running into a future where revenue and expenses aren't quite lining up. And we'll need to start thinking about ways that we can make that more, make some adjustments that will make that more sustainable over the long haul.
And this assumes, Larry, basically all things being equal as they are today.
Yes.
Current staffing, right point, doing what we've been doing.
Yes.
No additional job growth.
And I think we estimate 1% growth on income tax in this, which is a little below inflation, so it doesn't assume any kind of recession or anything like that. Because as you know, revenue from the income tax tends to be correlated with the economy pretty strongly. So if things are going okay, we could expect a little bit of growth. If things go the other way, it will show up in income tax revenues pretty quickly, within a year or so. So, and that, positive and negatively. So this just assumes basically the status quo as is, because, who can predict the future, so we don't want to be making big wild swings at anything. And then it also assumes pretty stable property tax collections, a minor growth for new construction of some sort. Yeah.
And Larry, if you could put your finger on, is there one thing that's the driver in these deficit numbers?
Well, you're going to have a little bit of growth from wages and benefits, but predominantly, if you would click over to the Right Point Fund, you would see that probably is where we're going to see most of the deficit generated. If we got rid of that, it would probably half the problem in the future, right?
Okay.
And then, yeah.
So in other words, it's fair to say, not to put you on the spot,
Right.
but it's fair to say
Let's do it.
that I think the main takeaway that I take from this, and especially as we go into budget season, is that if we hold all things equal, we can see that's not sustainable. We have about 5 years before we're out of money. Right Point is a significant part of that problem, but it is only a part of the problem. And other inflators like wage growth and everything else also contribute to this. And this also assumes that we've added no new staff. So no new police, no new fire, no new service. So again, when I'm having flashbacks to Citizens Academy, when we talk about, pulling on one thread of the sweater and having it be connected to everything else, and there's no such thing as a free lunch, I think this is where the rubber meets the road and we really start to see that in the financial modeling and in the numbers.
Yeah. And, there's other pieces that could be, there's a little bit of reform that's been talked about. Property taxes, I don't know, are a big thing on the reform thing at the moment. So you see there's a proposal to get rid of them altogether, which would be $2 million, it's like $3 million out the door for us, and that would be a real problem right away, right? But that's a little bit extreme. But there are things like expanded homestead and owner occupancy, which was passed for a permissive use for county commissioners. They could pass that, doubling the tax credit, and the local governments have to pay for it. So that would be, $100,000, $150,000 here. But those are all marginal things when you're looking down the line in 5 years when you come up with $1 million. Well, if you take another 100,000 away, 150 every year, it compounds problems, right? So, there's things like that that you can't really predict, but they're all challenges and they're possibilities out there. So the good news is there is time to think about it, right? And these are fairly conservative estimates, so if we get good revenue, maybe it pushes out a little longer.
Right.
So,
What was the fund balance? We set the policy. Can you draw me memory of what the balance, the percent was?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. 'Cause I know it was like X amount of percent of operating, annual operating, it would be reserved year over year, right?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head, but just my gut says we probably start getting into hot water on that right around 2030.
Yeah, so that's just general fund
General
balance.
fund.
Okay. Because I know that looking at stormwater waste collection, the fund balance in 2026, 7 is, or in 2030 is continuing to grow, which is a good thing. But I don't know, for those two funds in particular, I know this is only looking at for 2030 about $750,000. Fair assessment would be that those funds would probably have a capital project associated with them, so those balances would probably be closer to zero.
and if you want, we're only preliminarily finished those projections, mainly because there's a lot of unknown with those two particular funds at the moment, right? So we do have a placeholder in there for capital projects on the waste collect, or on the stormwater
Yes.
side. So it is including spending some money for stormwater capital.
Capital projects funds, those are more permissive use, so those are just going to be money in, money out. There shouldn't be.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
and it's
assume-
probably restricted in one way or another as
Yeah,
well.
I wouldn't be saying those are something that we're going to count on to have residual fund balances in, to where the 4 or 5 funds up above would be more where I'm looking at to see where our end date is looming towards.
Right.
It'd be impacts to those. I mean, what this turns into is, like, what are the conversations we're having as a council about levies, about, oh, that's it. I mean, we can't really go much higher on income tax. So, like, the way out of this, the way to stay afloat is this council in the future having levy conversations, because there's not really an option.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important to emphasize while this is up and we're all looking at it is that the model, as Larry said, assumes that we're bringing in revenue from stormwater and solid waste, A, to provide those services, but B, in order to help defray the costs that we can to keep ourselves afloat for as long as possible. So all of that is to say, if, part of the reason these numbers are a little bit fuzzy is if our collections for those fees go really, really well, then we get a little bit more padding earlier on in the rollout of that process that maybe improves this budget picture a little bit. If we have a lot of problems with collections, then the opposite thing happens, where we'll be a little bit more cash constrained in those funds. The general fund may have to subsidize, but we don't know until we've got it rolled out and we're implementing. So we're trying to be as reasonable but as conservative as possible with these estimates.
And that's part of what I was getting at, like, we haven't quite fleshed it out, because there is some unknown there, right? We don't know what those collections are gonna be early on. We've been talking about it, but we don't know exactly where that's gonna end up. And that'll be a big thing, in year 2 or 3 of that project, like, what it looks like.
Yeah,
So,
we'll know a lot more in 26,
but
27.
the good news is we've got time for that to kind of come on.
Yep.
So,
So again, I mostly just wanted to get this in front of council as a way of showing, the masterpiece Excel project, if you will, that SRC started last year for us and has continued to flesh out. This is something that informs how we internally are thinking about budget and the budget process as staff. But I think, again, I want to show it in this way too, at the start of the budget season and at the start of these conversations in order to help frame the conversation, really, because I think it speaks to the same thing that we've been saying now quite a lot, which is that the pot of money is only so large. And, we are trying to balance that across all of our needs and responsibilities. And if nothing changes, we're not on a sustainable course. We're certainly doing what we can to change both the revenue picture and the right point problem. But this is sort of a snapshot of where we are today, and I think it provides us with a pretty useful baseline going forward. Any other questions for Larry?
And the last thing, was the right point, like, I know that wasn't, like, a deficit wasn't shown in the model.
the models, I told you, we took care of all, that summary page transfers all the deficits back to the general fund deficit, because we're making them whole through a transfer on the general fund, through the model. So that's why there's no deficit on the right point. If you go dig into the actual details of it, and we can share it with you if you like, you can see it.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's part of the reason why, if we were to, not, again, reel me in if I'm way out to
Yeah,
sea,
fire
but
away.
that's part of the reason why Right Point has such an outsized impact on the model, because we're basically assuming that any excess costs come out of the general fund. And so if we were to solve that problem, then that's less transfer needed out of the general fund, which extends our time horizon.
Pull that back just for
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
So we're assuming that the Right Point deficit is going to come out of the general fund, but what happens, like, what would the accounting mechanism be to cover the deficit from the fire, police, streets department? Operating in the year, what will we do to cover the deficit in those funds?
In what year are we talking about?
Any year,
Any,
ever.
so we will transfer money from the general fund to clear any deficit.
So what's the difference between the Right Point fund and the other three funds? Why we didn't show it in the model, and it's just being assumed? to
Oh,
come
they're
out of
all,
the general?
they're all baked in like that. So if any of them create a deficit within it, so you'd have to go in, if you want, you can just take a look at, like, say, the Right Point fund right there.
Pull this up.
Yeah. And you can see through here, every one of these funds has a transfer from the general fund line in it, right there on line 8. And basically what happens is there's formulas in here that bake in if there's a deficit, it catches it, and then it fills in the amount of money it needs to get it back to whatever baseline number we plugged in there. And it does that through all of them. So what happens is then it gets transferred to the general fund tab. So the general fund tab has a stack of transfers needed for that year.
So
And
then
it-
on
it goes on there.
on the report that, or the sheet that we were just looking at, I'm guessing a little lost on like why in 2026 and beyond, we're not seeing a deficit for the Right Point Fund.
Well, it's because that we are, Larry, again, reel me back in here, but I guess in terms of restating this, we are showing that these funds will spend down fund balance. That's what this negative number means. So police would go from almost 1.2 million down to 572, but then the following year, it would add to its fund balance. So in other words,
Okay.
the general fund is not making every other fund whole every year. In some of these years, we're going to let the funds dip into their fund balance as
Okay.
long as they maintain a certain reserve. The assumption for Right Point, though, is the general fund is always going to rescue it,
Okay, so it's
which
always
is
gonna-
why that's a net neutral.
It's basically just whatever the deficit would be is the transfer to clean.
So we're keeping a $500,000 fund balance.
Yeah, and
at
we
Right
can,
Point.
and that could be dialed into whatever it needs to be at that point. But at this moment, it's scheduled, the way it's built right now is to have it at 500,000.
Right.
So we could dial that down, we could dial it up if we needed to, but, and that's kind of what you're seeing there in 26 with the police and fire is letting it burn a little bit of the extra cash in those funds back to the general fund.
I guess for the non-tech, like accounting, like accountant, Excel nerds among us, the report here, just at surface value for what this is, it looks like the Right Point buildings become sufficient in 2026. So that's where I initially took that as. So I apologize for not
Oh, yeah.
hearing you out the first time.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that.
Well, and the other thing too is I wanted to be able to show this as a tool just to show council and the public that this is the tool that we're using kind of behind the scenes, and it's very in the weeds. I think going forward, especially as we get into the budget cycle, what we'd like to do is try to take these themes that are coming out of this tool and sort of condense that in a way that is just a little bit more concise. And so we can get to kind of the main ideas that are coming out of this analysis and then say, all right, here's the assumption that drives that. How do we want to address that in the budget process? So going forward, it won't be quite this complicated in this room.
Something I'd like to see that I haven't seen in a long time is on the Right Point buildings, I'd like to see what the actual income that we're getting in rent from these buildings is versus, I mean, I know we pay a certain amount out in utilities and we have a cost to that, but, so to my point, if the buildings were paid off, would they be liquid, or would they be a positive for us?
Generating revenue.
Would they
Right.
be generating at least some revenue, or at least keeping their own head above water?
Yep.
And therefore, us being in this space would basically not cost us anything except for possibly the utilities, because we would need to be paying rent into that also, at least the utilities part. But I need a better picture. I mean, I've seen a lot of negative, but I don't believe it's all that negative because the value of the buildings, and we're borrowing against that value each year. And as long as we, just like in our own home, we pay that down, eventually it would get paid off. Now, if the answer is it's totally negative, we're only bringing in $200,000 a year, and the interest alone is costing us $300,000 a year, I understand. But I need a better picture, and I don't think we've heard that.
Right, and I think that the good news is we have that information. And I think that I have been trying to think about a way of framing the Right Point question, especially for this year's budget cycle, that speaks expressly to that. So in other words, do the buildings cash flow, or does one building cash flow and not the other? And there is some strategy and some other numbers that I'm crunching. But the good news is I will have that for you going into the budget conversation this year.
Because I think we all need that information.
Yeah.
Because, I think a lot of it, we've been getting a lot of negative about, okay, yeah, we owe $11 million on these buildings, or whatever it is, $9 million, but they're worth $12 million.
$6 million.
$6 million, okay. We owe $6 million on these. we borrowed $6 million against these $12 million buildings, okay? And we need to pay, yes, we're getting revenue from it, and we're getting, we're paying the bills, and are we able to pay the interest and just keep that debt, or are we able to maybe pay some of that debt down? I know when we first borrowed against them, we were paying some of it down yearly. I don't know that we've done that recently, but to me, we need to look at all of that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I can speak a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
So we've been sending out a monthly council report. There is a right point tab on it, and it has the revenue side of it, where you can see just the rents. So you can take a look there if you want to take a look over the last few years.
Okay, thank you.
So there's that. And it has expenses, but it is going to have some of the capital stuff in it. But it is itemized on its own. So like this, the renovation money on it, the debt payments, that's going to be in there. But take a look at that first. If you want more detail, happy to give it. And then the second piece is, oh man, I just lost it right when I said that. What were we-
The older you get, the worse it gets.
I know. I tell you, I've been feeling it. So,
The good news, though, is that I have been, we've obviously kind of been at a place strategically with trying to position the buildings. And that sort of continues to evolve. However, I've got sort of I'm coming closer and closer to sort of a plan A and a plan B that we can act on by the end of the year that I think, now I want to be really clear, I don't have a deal that's imminent on the table or anything. I don't want to give anybody sort of false impressions. But what I am trying to get my arms around, especially as we go into budget, is if, again, all things being equal, what are the steps that we can take to start pushing the needle on this one way or the other? And that's kind of what I want to bring to you all, because some of that, I think we're going to want to start to tee up in this budget cycle. For example, one of these options could be, let's try to get the police department in the bottom floor of this building and fill up, some of the floors above us so that at least this building cash flows. And then we have people subsidizing our city hall. I'm doing a little bit more homework on that, but that is a direction that we can go, for example. So what I'm trying to do is flesh that out, but as I'm doing that, I at least wanted you all and the public to have a good picture of where we sit presently and how we can continue to tread water here for a couple more years, but unless things really start to change, it's not a sustainable picture going forward, so.
and Josh, I remember what I forgot. Our master plan budgeted a 5% principal reduction every year on the note. So the idea was to pay it off in 20 years. So that's how that plan bakes in there. So there is principal reduction as well as interest payments.
So we will be back with more, but wanted to start the conversation and frame things that way, and you can expect to see more certainly in September and October as we get into budget season.
All right. Thank you for the time and the information.
Yeah, thank you guys. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Larry.
All right.
And I believe we'll have the next monthly report out tomorrow? Tomorrow. So the council will get that.
All right. And then we have a stormwater utility update.
We do indeed, and I'll invite Ms. Moore to give
Michaela
that
and I
pres-
are gonna tag team.
Oh, tag
this
team,
one,
thank you,
so
ma'am.
we're gonna hang out
Sorry, I'm
over
trying to do
here
two things at once and
in
getting
the-
distracted. So let me
on
pull
the
this.
sidelines.
No worries, let me pull this up. Take
Thanks,
it away.
Josh.
Has everybody met Michaela on
We
council?
did introduce Michaela Grant. She's our new Public Service Department Operations Analyst, and has been my right hand and my left hand as we get this stormwater utility and solid waste revenue, everything going. So we are on track. So we bring to you tonight an update. You can go next slide, Josh.
Yep. Sorry, my computer's not cooperating. There we go.
Okay, since we last met, probably about 3-4 months ago, we've had a lot in the works. But I think understanding how the stormwater utility billing works, it's different than any other type of utility billing, right? So different than I have a water meter or an electric meter or a gas meter. I measure a certain amount of consumption through the meter, so this is very different. So this is based on, and this is for all parcels, residential, non-residential. Your build based on the amount of impervious surface area present on your property. So this little graphic is an example of a regular house. If it's pervious, the blue, that means when rainwater hits it, it drains through. The impervious, the orange, rainwater hits it and it drains off. So there's some examples, your roof, your driveway, your concrete walk up to your front door. But like a deck is pervious, right? Like I think of my deck, water drains through the cracks. But if I had a concrete patio out back, that's impervious, water runs off. Same thing, if you have a swimming pool, probably be excited, like my sister-in-law, when it rains, she doesn't have to pay to fill it up with water. But if there's a concrete walkway around it, that contributes to runoff. So the billing unit, ERU, it's an equivalent residential unit. And in different cities, that amount is based on different amounts of impervious surface area. So back in '23, we hired a consulting firm and did a high-level study of what is the baseline. So what is the baseline for the city of Riverside? And that one ERU is 2,923 square feet. So bigger houses, more, smaller houses and lots less, business is totally different. So we can go next slide. So when we look at residential rates, there's 3 tiers. So tier 2, that's that average house that we just looked at in the previous slide. You have between 2,201 square feet and 3,600. That's average. So that's tier 2. We're going to be billing quarterly, so $12 a month times 3, $36. If you fall into tier 1, a little bit smaller lot, you would be in that impervious surface area of like 0 to 2,200. You're going to be paying less. So you're $7 a month times 3 months for your quarterly bill, 21. And then tier 3, you're above 3,601 square feet of impervious surface area, so you're going to be paying the tier 3 rate. Non-residential, very different. So you can see our little example of, let's say this is a neighborhood store, and it might have 8,000 square feet of impervious surface area. So we take the exact impervious surface area square feet, and we divide it by that 2,923, that's the average residential unit, and we come up with an ERU for that specific non-residential building. And whatever that is, multiplied by 3, you get a bill a quarter. Our quarterly billing dates are January, April, July, and October for everybody. We can go on. Oh, and just FYI, for our plan, as we seem to be on track with all the legwork, that the first bill will tentatively, we're scheduling to issue it in April of '26, and then that would be retroactive for the months of January, February, March of '26, and then it would proceed on like that. So you get a bill, it's for the previous 3 months. Stormwater credits. I think that's been a popular topic, and we've had a lot of interest in it, which is pretty exciting. Michaela and I, we've done a lot of research of how can we provide a variety of options, but keep it to simple options that a regular homeowner could do. So I look at it, if I could do it myself, then probably a regular homeowner could do it. So right now, we currently have 4 options: a rain barrel, a rain garden, a vegetative filter strip, or removal of impervious surface area. And the maximum credit you can receive is 25%. So you could pick one of those, you could pick all 4, but the maximum you're going to receive is 25% off your bill. So we are working on applications, guidance documents for, I think I know what a rain garden is, but until I read about it, I had missed some things. So working on the application, the guidance documents, So people have that little handbook, and if you want to, when you're ready to get started, you have your guidebook on how to do it. We are also open to, because this is new to us as well, hey, if you think you have your ideas, you might have your sketch, and you say, hey, could someone from the city, I want to talk through this, right? Before I go dig out half of my backyard and plant a garden, we'd be happy to come out and chat with you. We'll be ready to issue these applications, have all our guidance documents written. We're hoping in the September timeline, so we're getting pretty close. And then we would, of course, make those available online. And then we're looking at that every year, it's a standing deadline of January 1st. So if you want to get your credit out of the gate for 2026, you would submit your application, and when you submit your application, that means your work is done too. And then as soon as we hit 26, those first 3 months of the year, we would come out and do an inspection, look at what you've installed, take some pictures, and then that is good for, we're looking at over a 3-year period. And then you'll be, have an application to renew that online. So trying to keep it simple to start, and maybe once we get good at these, I'm really imagining that we're going to have these gurus that are so good at these different types of applications that I'm looking for folks who've just nailed it, they love it, that we can have like some properties where you would be say, oh, hey, I already did my rain garden. You can come check mine out. I'd be happy to talk you through it, right? We need some demonstration projects of people to actually look at it. It's one thing to put it on paper. It's another thing to actually build it. So that's what we're looking at for that. And then I'm going to turn it over to Michaela to talk about everything else we've been working on.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to get to speak with you tonight. So we have several ongoing items to highlight. If you want to go to the next slide.
Hold on, sorry, feedback. This is what I get for running a PowerPoint and a mixing board at the same time.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Michaela, go ahead and talk into that real quick if you don't mind.
Test.
Okay, I think we're good.
Excellent. All right.
All right, and you need next slide,
Next
correct?
slide, please. Yes.
Okay, there you go.
So the first, so we continue to review the GIS parcel and impervious surface data to ensure accuracy for billing. We're collaborating with our city engineer on that. They've been a great help so far, so we look forward to continuing that. We have also been actively discussing and refining our billing policies and procedures to capture the scope of the operation, identify, anticipate any issues, and then be able to implement the best billing and customer service practices right out of the gate. We are also have several items on our material procurement list, the two big ones being an outside drop box for 24-hour payments, and then an indoor kiosk for folks to be able to pay their bill online, and that will be multi-purpose as well. We've been speaking with the Community Development Department, and that can also be used for zoning permits and things of that nature, so that can be better utilized on a couple of different fronts. And then that fourth item listed there, third-party service providers. So that's been a significant part of our ongoing effort, so we can review that in more detail. If you would go to the next slide, please. So two significant components here of the utility billing operation are payment processing and then the bill design, printing, and mailing services. So we went through quoting processes for both of these services. After reviewing the cost and quality of services, Invoice Cloud is the recommended payment service provider, and they also offer online billing services, so things like 24-hour account dashboard, paperless billing, pay by text, automatic billing, some of those updated functions would be available for property owners. So for the bill design, print, and mailing service, Peregrine Corporation is the recommended as the lowest cost and best service provider. Similarly, went through that quoting process, and they came out as that top option there. So that's the recommendation. The authorizing legislation for these contract services is planned to be presented to council at the August 18th meeting.
And, go ahead.
Does an SSI have utility? Is this not?
Great question. So, yes, so that's our enterprise resource planning software, and so they have two preferred vendors for the payment processing. So Invoice Cloud is one of those. So basically, we had two options. They provided us with the quotes for both of those, and Invoice Cloud was the top option. Similar with Peregrine Corporation, that's their preferred vendor. We still went out and got quotes just to make sure that, again, we were just doing due diligence and making sure that those costs were commensurate with what we needed. And so that's kind of how the interplay with SSI goes. So they do have the utility billing module. These are just two outside vendors to be able to provide those services. So then, next slide, please. So then, starting in April, several outreach methods have been employed as part of our public outreach strategy. And big shout out to Katie here for her expertise and collaboration on these items. It's been great. To date, we've launched the stormwater webpage and utility billing webpage and published a new series called Wednesday's Water Wisdom on the city's Facebook page. There is also an article explaining the utility in the upcoming summer edition of the newsletter. So we ask folks to be on the lookout for that. We will also have a table with the Montgomery Soil and Water Conservation District at National Night Out tomorrow. And in the middle of the screen there is a little sneak preview of our magnet. We also have some at the back table for our guests if they'd like to pick one up. Just some quick facts on stormwater along with a QR code that links to our stormwater page. We're updating that pretty regularly just to keep folks apprised of what's going on and just some of that information so that everybody's on the same page there. We are also planning on, in early fall, issuing a pre-billing notice to our non-residential property owners, giving them their estimated ERU and the corresponding billing amount. That way they can be prepared from a budget perspective going into 2026. And then that also allows for dialogue in case there are any discrepancies we can get on that before the billing goes live. And also, as we approach Rumpke's service start date, we will publish a new waste collection webpage that provides the details on that. And so that covers it, and I will hand that back to Beth to wrap up.
Thanks. So next steps, ongoing, the utility billing software, that's the SSI VIP, that is our billing database. That's where all our data is, where we're verifying everything to make sure it's accurate before we issue those first bills. Next council meeting, you will see the resolutions authorizing our third-party services, the Peregrine and the Invoice Cloud. You will also see we need to establish the solid waste collection revenue fund. We currently don't have that fund in our current budget. Stormwater, that fund was adopted back when council adopted the stormwater ordinance. So that exists. By establishing this solid waste fund, then we were able to kind of build our budget for next year and keep all the revenue funds separate. September 2nd would be the second reading and hopefully potential adoption of that so we can get the budget squared away. Early in the fourth quarter, Michaela mentioned that we're going to send out non-residential. This is what your bill looks like. This is how much we think you're going to owe. This is your verified impervious surface area. So that way they can look at it. If there's any questions, we have plenty of time to resolve it. But we're feeling pretty confident about our method, that those will be right on. December 15th is when Rumpke will initiate their container distribution. They will use our parking lot here as a staging area. We met with them back in July. The efficiency of how they handle that, and they use a third-party provider to distribute the new containers. No doubt that it will be executed in 2 weeks, and they aren't even worried with the holidays there. We were kind of worried about the holidays. They have no worry. So that will be pretty exciting, but we didn't want to publish Rumpke information too soon. We don't want residents to get confused. Republic is your current provider, so we're leaving that there. And then when we get a little bit closer to the end of the year, we will roll out their implementation plan. And then looking forward to January 1, Rumpke services begin. Anybody who's interested in doing a stormwater credit application, those would be due. And then our target is to issue the first bills on April 1st. I'd be happy, and Michaela and I can answer any questions you all might have.
Go ahead.
Are we billing the property owner or the resident?
Oh, it's all property owners.
Okay, so.
Everybody
And thus the
residential.
reason for the non-residential bills that you're sending out early so that the property owners understand what's going
Even on residential, I mean, it's property owners, but our concern on non-residential, some of these non-residentials have a large amount of impervious surface area. So this is kind of more the heads up. We've done the calculation, we've reviewed all the imagery, this is what it looks like your bill's gonna be, so budget for it, glance at it. If you think-
School systems, churches,
Yes,
all
every,
are getting
yes.
billed for this.
Federal government is non-exempt.
Federal is in the ordinance. We are not.
We are not.
We pay ourselves.
Right.
So that, you'll see that in our budget process too.
Okay, okay.
Right away is exempt.
Yeah, my only suggestion would be that maybe since we've got the rental property listings, if we could send those owners a heads up so that they know the properties are going to have this extra cost to them. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody or not.
We've worked with them to make sure that Michaela has access to the rental registration portal, and every time that comes in, she has access to
Okay,
those landlords.
so, I mean, does that make sense? I mean, because we have some people that own houses here that live in Florida and and they're not gonna have a clue until this bill shows up in April. And I just think that they need a heads up. That's all I'm saying. And to me, that also gives us the opportunity, they know what's going on, and there's a better chance we're going to get it paid on time rather than 100 questions in April and May on why they have to do this. They'll already have a heads up that this is coming.
Sure.
And then the other thing I had was, okay, so let's say my bill is $216 a year. If I pay that all at one time, is there a discount?
No.
Okay. Well, it was worth asking.
We are, Michaela mentioned, the amount of financial policies and procedures that we are working through, that being one of them, numerous. So as we draft those, we review those with Josh and Jim, Larry, to make sure we're on track. We visited with our fellow municipalities to see how they handle certain things. So we're trying to hopefully glean as much insight as possible and put out policies and procedures that are really straightforward and then easy to implement, because you're looking at the team right here, the same team
No,
that's
and
going
I
to be
agree.
going out and doing inspections. So we're trying to get as much squared away on the front end, so it's
I appreciate
straightforward.
that. I know that that's questions people are going to ask, and, you know, in the past, like with Republic, if somebody paid their whole bill for the whole year, they got a 4% discount, and, you know, and that's all, you know, they're going to ask the same question of us.
Have we identified vendors for debt collection? Who are selling our debt, or like, are we gonna be in the process
Those
of?
won't be necessary, as the process will lend itself towards if you don't pay, it will be assessed.
Okay.
We have the ability to assess.
Yeah, we'll come to you
Property tax.
with a resolution or an ordinance similar to nuisance or grass or streetlights.
Is it, I guess just from like, my inexperience with these types of things, is it more cost-effective to have a mechanism of debt and the ability to sell debt to generate revenue, or to recoup lost money because we're still paying for a service that we're not getting paid back for, or waiting until a lien is processed?
I think that probably depends in part on what your delinquency rate actually is and how much money is outstanding. And so I think the good news is, I've been saying that a lot tonight. The approach that we can take actually would be that we have a mechanism under the law right now to go ahead and pursue these assessments to try to recover costs. Whether or not to outsource that to another party is something we can always look at and revisit. If we come into a circumstance where it might make some sense to go get that outside resource, we could always do that in lieu of assessing.
So I know when we were discussing this initial switch that the city of Riverside has, like, our amount that we have in debt, that was an area of concern with Republic.
Non-payers, you mean?
Non-payers, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think Republic, as well as other solid waste services providers, bake into their bids an assumed percentage of inability to collect. But our rates, when we took the billing piece off of that bid package for solid waste, and knowing that we can eventually get the money through assessment, think that kind of took that out of the equation. But we have no idea what to expect in terms of what our timely payments will be. I think it's going to be a learning curve during this first year.
So were we provided with that number, or do we have that number of what?
Oh, no. They consider that proprietary information that goes into their bidding process.
Yeah, they weren't going to share it with us. They just called out that it was an issue.
Right.
And that's
So-
where the price increase was going to come from.
So, just so we're all aware here, that, like, the one side that gave me a little pause with this thing is that we're paying up front. We're gonna pay Rumpke up front for the services for all of our residents. It is our residents' responsibility to pay the city back. We do have a mechanism to, like, garner that money if they don't pay in terms of an assessment.
We put an assessment.
However, the city is going to have, and it sounds like it's a significant point of concern. It sounds like from that conversations with other trash vendors that we're gonna hold
Well,
an additional
here's the
liability.
information I can give you, because we had a bid from Republic where when they originally bid 6 years ago or whatever it was, we had one bid, and that was with the fact that at the time, we thought we were going to be able, and before this, we had the county just automatically putting it as an assessment on people's bills, okay? When we found out we couldn't do that, we had it rebid. They increased their bid by 4% based on the fact that they were going to have to bill and possibly eat some of the, not be able to collect everything. So that's the only number I can give you.
Yeah.
They used 4%. They used 4% as their magic number.
Okay, that's fine.
I have two things. One, I would ask Zach, like, what would you want us to decide tonight regarding this? But also to kind of add to the discussion, I have a question about what we understand about the billing software that we're going to have. Will it make it easy to pay online, schedule payments? Automatic payments, yeah.
Automatic payments.
Yes, and while I'll say at the top that it is subjective, of course, and everybody's, ability might be a little bit different, I am familiar with the software, and I believe that it is straightforward, and we will have some robust guidance documents and assistance in easily accessible places online, so that folks know how to do that, so that it's straightforward, and of course, we are available to answer any questions and to assist during the process. So to answer that in short, yes, I do believe that it will be a straightforward system for folks.
Okay.
I think, Brenda, just to tag on to that, when we looked at the benefits of the different systems that could do that, Invoice Cloud offered superior benefit options to how to pay and the information provided. And then that's another piece of having that, we call it a kiosk, it's really a computer up at the front desk, where I know if some of my family members aren't comfortable setting up online payments, but if you want to do it, we're happy to sit here and we will get the guidance document and you can sit at the computer and you can set it up using whatever information you have. So I think part of this process. We know it's new to people, but we really want to help whatever method people choose. We want to help them be successful doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Are we going to notify realtors in the near future, so when they're making obligations with buyers, that they will know this is coming?
So that's a great question. So we have been in communication with Dayton Realtors Association, and they actually provided guidance to reach out to the Ohio Land Title Association. So we have provided information there so that folks know that this is something to be aware of.
That's coming.
All right. Any other questions on our stormwater utility updates? Very robust, and we certainly appreciate all the information, and a lot of work went into this, so I certainly speak on behalf of the council when we say thank you for all of this.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to the always brief other items from the city manager.
Couple things. So as Beth and Michaela mentioned, we'll have some resolutions at the next meeting related to those services for you. I also have 2 housekeeping items that will come next week. One is a surplus items list. We've got a bunch of cars over at the police department that need to be surplus. They're past their expected life, and a variety of fire and other IT equipment that'll be on that. So we will have that. There is also and I don't know if any of you may remember this. Apparently about 5 years ago, we negotiated a lease. So it's before a lot of our time here, but we negotiated a lease with the Army for the sign and the bus stop that's out at the corner of Woodman and Airway, northeast corner. So that was a 5-year lease agreement which has expired.
Is that their property?
It's their property, and we lease it in order to have the sign that's there as well as access to the RTA bus stop that's right adjacent on that corner. So they notified us that that lease had expired. The downside is that the original lease was an in-kind prospect, where we basically said, we'll take care of the property, we'll mow it, and then you give us rights to it, and they said, okay. Well, this time they want money. It's around $5,000, if memory serves.
To be exact, is $4,500.
$4,500.
I tried to explain to the real estate specialist from the USACE that the prior arrangement was an in-kind service, and I was met with the desire for the lease payment in a monetary fashion for $4,500 for the next 5-year term for the same service. It's just so we have access to maintain the welcome sign and to maintain the access to the bus stop.
So it's a fairly modest expense, which we can cover using some of our contract services lines, but it would require a then and now. So I'll have a then and now resolution in front of you just to renew that and maintain that as it is today.
And that's annually?
Yes.
No.
Or is it that for the
It's
whole
it's
agreement?
just a one-time payment for the length of the 5-year agreement.
Okay,
So
thank
it's
you.
$4,500 for 5 years.
I thought it was $4,500 a year.
Thank you, Jim.
Always happy to bring more good
Okay.
news.
Yeah, so amortize that out, it's like $1,000 and change a year, so,
It's-
or
it's
even less than that.
less than that
Less
if
than
you-
that.
Can we?
Mental math.
The feedback.
No, I know, I'm trying to do that and talk and do a few things at the same time.
We'll talk less then.
I know, right? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Question for you,
Yep.
Zach. Any of the police equipment that going to surplus, either the maybe one of the vehicles or any of the equipment, could be possibly donated to the criminal justice program at Stebbins?
I'll
for
ask.
used? I know that Montgomery County Sheriff's, when I first started the program, donated 2 vehicles. I know they have one brand-new vehicle, but I know it's always nice to have 2, and I'm sure the cruisers that they've had are probably done. I don't even know if I've seen them in the parking lot. So just a thought, because I know you make very minimal off the surplus sites, so.
Yeah, GovDeals only pays a certain amount, right?
So if there's any interest there, I mean.
No, fair point.
Yeah.
I'll ask. I'll definitely ask Acting Chief Jackson about that, and we will certainly move in that direction if it's viable.
Okay.
So. Only other thing is this National Night Out is tomorrow evening at Stebbins. That's from 6 to 8. I want to thank the police department and everybody that's involved with all the food, all the staff. City Hall staff will also be out present and with some collateral and materials to pass out, including some stormwater information like we discussed tonight. And finally, on Wednesday, we will have an open house for our UDO, the Land Use Zoning Code rewrite. We'll actually have 2 sessions that day. One, that second shift workers or really anybody can attend, sort of midday at 11, starting at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we'll do a second session in the evening from 6 to 7:30. That will be here at council chambers. So we'll have sort of an intro area out front, and then a variety of stations. It's a come and go kind of an event. We have some of the hot topics, if you will, that a lot of comments came in throughout the process about land use, and you'll be able to kind of dive into those at each station, offer some feedback. If you're unable to attend that event, we will be producing an online survey that will go out. And if there's really strong interest, we'll hold another event so that we can get more in-person feedback as well. So we'll see how that goes. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager on the brief topics that he covered? All right. I just want to let folks know who are joined us tonight in council chambers or watching on YouTube that we do have an executive session scheduled for this meeting after we do council member discussion. So I will now ask if there are any members of council who wish to bring up any items for discussion before we go into executive.
Just want to say, August 11th is the back-to-school free haircut day at Spinning Hills Middle School sponsored by 937 Barbershop. So thank you to them to doing that for our community and students of Riverside.
Excellent. Excellent.
Chamber dinner, the third Tuesday, will be the Mexican restaurant in Airway Boat. I never can say that.
El Taco
Va, yeah.
So
And
third-
reservations through the chamber.
Third Tuesday. Okay. Is the blood drive over?
Yes, the blood drive is over.
Okay. Was it successful?
I think so. We had a full bus when I was in there. So yes, thank you to everyone in the community who supports our blood drives. Our next blood drive will be in October.
Excellent. Is there anything else?
Vampire month.
Anything else from any members of council before we go into exec? I would certainly echo the city manager's comments on the community events tomorrow night and Wednesday, and really encourage people to attend Wednesday in any form that they're able to, with the input that we really do want from our neighbors and our residents on our land use plan and our zoning code. You know, there was a comment earlier about stakeholders. I look at every person in our community, every person in our city as a stakeholder. There are certainly people that are outside of our community that are also important. They might bring resources, they might bring matching funds, they might bring support that allows us to pull projects off. But the only real stakeholders that matter are the ones that live in our city that we are serving, and that we want their input when we put together a very important document like our zoning code, which I might have been harping on for a while now. So very glad to see this process coming to the point that it's at and moving towards some good stuff. So if there's nothing else, I will ask if there's a motion to go
Move
into
to go into
executive.
executive session for the reasons stated on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from Mr. Joseph. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We are in exec at 7:38 PM. Thank you, folks.